Hello everybody, welcome back to the United Stand. Is it Fred's time to go? I'm pretty sure I'm going to know what most of you guys are going to say in the comments today. I'm going to give my opinion. I'm going to give pros to what he is actually good at, obviously his weaknesses as well, and then compare some stats with the man himself, Casemiro. But first off, let's get into what Fred is good at. Now, I've actually only got two things that come to mind, and that is running and tenacity, really, in my honest opinion. Sometimes his running isn't even sensible, but one thing you can't really fault is his work rate. He does cover a lot of ground, a lot of distance on the pitch, and for me, you know, not a lot of midfielders will come close in terms of running stats with Fred. His tenacity is obviously another huge part of his game also, and that is why personally I think that if he is going to be used going forward, there needs to be a structure to what he is, or how he is used, I should say, in the sense of how many minutes he gets, what games are going to be better suited. Now, I know Ten Hag is almost forced into this position now where he does have to play him, right? Casemiro's suspended, McTominay's ill or injured, not sure. Obviously, Van der Beek's out, Eriksen's out as well, so he's having to play. But I feel like there needs to be some way of, you know, what he's good at. That is all he needs to do. I think he just needs to run. You know, he's not a creative player. He's not a... He doesn't have shades of Casemiro, and I think that is almost a little bit harsh because, you know, Sabitzer also doesn't, Bruno doesn't in that sense. You know, completely different types of players. But Fred's weaknesses, he's not combative enough. His aerial ability is pretty much non-existent. He's not physical enough. It's really disappointing to see, in all honesty. And as much as I do think there has been marked and huge improvement under Erik ten Hag, in all honesty, it feels like there's one step forward and two steps back with Fred. He has one good game where he might start and play, you know, half decent or very well, and then he drops an absolute stinker. It's not like he just goes and has a bad 20-minute spell and pops up with an assist. You know, Bruno Fernandes has done it in the past. Rashford might not have a great game, but he goes on and scores, or he goes on and creates a moment of magic. And yes, you might not necessarily be expecting that from Fred, but when he has a bad game, he drops an absolute stinker. It's a bad 90 minutes. It's not just a patch in the game. I feel like he's so predictable. He's so readable when it comes to passes. There was a moment in the game, the last game where we drew to Leeds, where the ball comes to him and it's so obvious what he's going to do by his body positioning. He doesn't really check or read his shoulders properly. I mean, even if he does, and it makes it worse because then you should be, you know, knowing what's going on around you and know what's going on in your surroundings. I think he tries to play it off to Dalot, I think it is, and I don't know if it's Nonto or Sinistera who actually does intercept the pass, because it's quite clear what he is going to do. He's not someone that tends to drop the shoulder all the time, and there is glimpses and shades that we have been able to see of him doing that. You know, he's popped up with the odd goal here and there, and there's the ironic chance of Fred will tear you apart again. I could tell you there weren't any in the game against Leeds, I'll tell you that, but personally, I don't see a use for both Fred and McTominay in this side. I think they're very much of similar players, but also in a different way. They're, you know, Scott McTominay won't run as much as Fred, but they are very much the same. And is it Fred's time to go? Is it Scott McTominay's time to go? We obviously haven't seen Scott McTominay play in a very long time, and Ricky would actually put a case forward that Scott McTominay would be starting ahead of maybe the likes of Fred if he was available. I think, in all honesty, teams use Fred as a press target. I think Troy Deeney was the one who actually came out and said when he was at Watford that whenever Fred got the ball, that was their marker and time in order to go and press the player, I should say, and go and win the ball. If Fred isn't going to be the one to give away the ball directly by getting tackled, etc., then he's the one that possibly could do a dolly pass or put someone else under pressure by being pressured himself, and then they win the ball back. It was quite clear against Leeds in the previous game that he was a trigger for them as well. Even if initially he wasn't targeted at the start of the game, they figured it out. It was quite clear that as soon as the ball got to him, he can't deal. He's not press resistant. He can't deal with getting out of tight spaces. He can't deal with being put under pressure and having to just do the simple things. That's all it is. And I mean, I'm going to go into some stats against Casemiro, kind of a versus thing, and you can see it's night and day realistically between them. And I know no one really is going to come up against Casemiro stats base, and no one's going to offer as much as what Casemiro can possibly do. But you have got to consider these things, and we thoroughly do miss Casemiro in this team. 100%. It's quite clear that when Casemiro is in the team, he's probably been our best player in terms of how much of a difference he's actually made to the team. Obviously, there's Lisandro Martinez, etc., to bring into that. But yeah, we'll go into the stats now. Fred's obviously is just on this side, Casemiro's on the other side, and obviously these guys play two different positions, and that is actually why I've picked out these stats. Look, and I said Fred's aerial ability was poor. Look, 25% aerial duels won, and that's only just over 1.4 aerial duels per 90 compared to Casemiro's 4.62, and from those 4.62 he wins over 50% of them. Forward passes, Fred's 14.9, Casemiro nearly 20. Long passes as well. Casemiro has that element in his game, that switch over to whether it's Garnacho, Rashford, whoever it may be. Fred only doing just over 3, Casemiro offering 7 of those. And passes into the final third, nearly 10 for Casemiro, just over 6 for Fred. Progressive passes per 90 as well, Fred only doing 0.29 and Casemiro 0.48. Now Casemiro plays a lot deeper, right? And he's still outscoring. He's got more assists. He's providing to the team in a lot more ways than Fred is. As I say, I think he's got like 5 goals, 5 assists so far, more than what Fred has, and he is playing deeper. Fred he definitely does have that more license to get forward. And you can see here with the forward passes, Casemiro likes to break lines, and Fred should be also the one doing it as well. Fred should be the one actually probably receiving the ball off of Casemiro and making those driving runs, but it's just not happening. And I said earlier on in the video the fact that Fred, it seems that we have 1 step forward and 2 steps back. Is there I think we do understand that he is a limited player in terms of his ability, and his strengths are probably coming on with 20 minutes to go, being almost that Jack Russell type midfielder, ratting around in midfield, running his head off and going and winning the ball back, because he is a ball-winning midfielder, realistically, and that is probably what we've got to be limited to with him playing. But again, Ten Hag's hand has been, it's being forced, isn't it? He's having to play him, and I'm a little bit worried, in all honesty. I can't say I'm not, especially with the fact of, Casemiro's missing for the next 2 games. Scott McTominay, no kind of word of what's going on with him. Donny van de Beek out, Eriksen out for quite a while yet. I'm honestly unsure what's going to happen in terms of that midfield battle. We saw loads last season, the fact of we lost the midfield battle so much, and that's why Casemiro has been so useful in interceptions. I feel like we do understand how much he is of use to Manchester United, but I still think he's almost slightly underrated. But we'll move on to how much I actually think, how much do you guys think we could possibly cash in for Fred? I think we have activated the 1-year extension on to his contract. So obviously when this season does finish, I think he's then in his last year of his contract. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's right. So do we go and offer him a new contract? Definitely, if we do, it's got to be a short-term contract. And again, I think you've got to reduce his wage, and he's got to understand that he is going to be a squad player, limited time on the pitch, whether it's going to be 20 minutes here, 10 minutes there, because another midfielder needs to be brought in. And if Fred does stay, I think Scott McTominay has to go. If Scott stays, Fred has to go. There's no point having both of them. And in all honesty, I think if you put both of them together, obviously Fred's a lot old, well, not a lot older, but Fred is older than Scott. Scott's come through the youth academy. There is probably more of a lenience to keep Scott McTominay over Fred if you just take pure ability, everything out, just because of that. Manchester United obviously do like to have youth come through the system. But what, 15 million, 10, 20 million? I'm not quite sure how much we actually get for him. But new midfielders definitely need to be brought in 100%. What do you guys think? Do you think that it's time for Fred to go? I mean, there has been clear improvement, but we can't have a player that just plays well when he's comfortable sitting with Casemiro. We need someone that takes charge of games and can be as good as Casemiro. And if not, you know, just be a little bit more consistent. It's what we're asking for here. It's not difficult, really. It shouldn't be anyway for a professional footballer of what should be, you know, Manchester United's calibre. Let me know down in the comments as to whether you think Fred should be sold or not, and the price in which you think we could possibly get. But my personal opinion, I think it's time to probably let Fred go. But yeah, leave a like, subscribe if you aren't already, turn the notification bell so you never miss a video, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.